All right, early risers, welcome back to Before the Sun, where we don't just talk about goals, we tear them down and rebuild them stronger. Today, we're diving into a topic that's been at the heart of every single one of us: the battle between our inner critic and our inner coach. You know what I'm talking about. That voice that says, "You're not good enough. You're going to fail," versus the voice that pushes back and says, "Hell yes, you got this." So today, we're going to tackle why these voices exist, the science behind them, and most importantly, how to make sure your inner coach is the one running the show. Let's get into it. Let's start with these two voices. First up is the inner critic. It's the voice that tells you to back off, stay safe, that you're going to fail. Why is it there? Is it just to mess with you? Not exactly. Our brains evolved to keep us safe, so in ancient times, this voice would protect us from actual dangers, like lions or venomous snakes. But now, it's constantly on alert for threats that aren't life-threatening, like failure or embarrassment. So this inner critic isn't totally evil, it's just outdated and way overactive. Its job to protect you, but sometimes it protects you from reaching your potential. Now, let's talk about the inner coach. This voice is the one that tells you to push, to keep going, to reach for what you're capable of. It's not necessarily natural because self-belief takes work and practice. But when you build it up, it's your secret weapon. Think about it. Every time you choose to move forward, every time you make a plan or push through the hard days, that's your inner coach in action. Your inner coach doesn't just say, "You've got this," it gives you the steps to back it up. Today, we're focusing on how to make that voice louder, stronger, and make it in control. Now, let's get into the science. Why do these voices impact us so deeply? Psychologists say self-talk actually has the power to rewire our brain. Studies show that the more we engage in negative self-talk, the more it strengthens neural pathways related to fear and anxiety. But there's good news. Positive self-talk or building up that inner coach works the same way. If you actively work on your self-talk, you can reshape your brain to focus on solutions rather than problems. For example, let's look at some research out of Michigan State University, where they studied how self-talk impacts performance under pressure. They found that when people use self-talk, particularly in the third person, like saying, "You've got this," rather than "I've got this," it gave them a mental buffer from stress. Instead of getting trapped in a loop of overthinking, self-talk helped them stay objective and focused. So your inner coach isn't just motivational fluff. It's actual science-backed brain training that shifts you towards clarity and resilience. Let's bring this to life with a few real examples of people who've mastered this balance. First up, Tom Brady. Brady's journey to becoming one of the most successful quarterbacks of all time wasn't a straight shot. He was the 199th pick in the draft, overlooked by teams, and didn't start off as a superstar. But instead of letting that critic in his head take over, he trained himself to focus on his strengths and improve. He repeatedly told himself he was going to outwork everyone, and that mindset is what made him resilient. In interviews, he talked about using self-talk to stay grounded and push past doubt. Next, Serena Williams. One of the greatest athletes of all time, she's faced losses and comebacks like any champion. Her inner critic could have focused on every defeat, every criticism. Instead, she's trained her mind to be her biggest supporter. Serena openly talks about how she uses self-talk to keep her head up even in the toughest matches, reminding herself of skills and strengths. Lastly, Jim Carrey. Yeah, I'm talking about the comedian. We've talked about him before. He's known for being wild and funny, but his journey was far from easy. He was broke, living in his car at one point, and all he had was this dream of being a successful actor. Instead of letting his inner critic tell him to quit, he wrote himself a check for $10 million for acting services rendered. Every day he told himself he was going to make it, and he did. Carey used his inner coach to fuel his vision even when nothing else in his life was working. All right, now it's time to put this into action. Here are 3 exercises that are scientifically proven to strengthen your inner coach and keep that inner critic in check. Challenge your inner critic with evidence when your critic shows up with negative self-talk. Don't just accept it. Ask for evidence. Let's say it tells you you're gonna fail. Instead of letting that sink in, stop and challenge it. Ask yourself, what's the evidence I'll fail? What's the evidence I'll succeed? you'll start seeing that your inner critic has no solid ground to stand on. Use visualization to build your inner coach. Visualization isn't just for athletes, it's for everyone. Every morning, visualize yourself accomplishing your goals. Picture how it feels to succeed. Studies show that visualization activates the same parts of your brain that actually doing the task does. So if you're working towards a goal, visualizing success strengthens the neural pathways that make it feel possible. Affirmation routine with specificity. Here's the deal. Vague affirmations don't work as well as specific ones. Instead of saying, I'm confident, try, I am strong and I accomplish my goals even when it's tough. Be specific and say these aloud every day. Studies show that specific affirmations create stronger neural connections, making the mindset shift last way longer. So, early risers, here's the takeaway. We all have these two voices, the inner critic and the inner coach. One wants to keep you safe, but small. The other wants to push you to grow. You get to choose which one gets the final say. You've got the power to train your inner coach, to feed that voice, to back it up with evidence, and to make it so damn loud that your inner critic doesn't stand a chance. Before we go, remember to drop by speakpipe.com/beforethesun. Let me know what you're grinding through, how you're keeping that inner coach strong. I want to hear your voices in this battle because we're all in it together. And as always, get the fuck up. Go.